Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to be painting a gouache portrait. I have really been falling more in love with gouache lately, and I have been more so exploring what I can do by doing these little small portrait studies. I think that they're really fun. I just love finding so many different faces and figuring out the best way to render them in gouache. It is so much fun, and I've used watercolor for many years, but gouache for only about a year, and it's so different even though it's similar. And honestly, at first, it was really hard for me to get used to gouache. Today I am sketching first with my Bic Velocity mechanical colored pencil. These are my favorite sketching supply. They are so inexpensive, and so is their replacement lead, and they erase really easily, and they come in basically a rainbow of colors, and they disappear really nicely beneath watercolor and gouache paintings. So I used to use the Prismacolor Kohl Erase all the time, but they're a little bit expensive, and I feel like I have to sharpen them so much to keep a sharp point, and these you don't have to worry about it, and they're just a lot less expensive. So I bought this one set for like $6, and then I bought like a set of 10 replacement leads for like $5, and I'm only on like the second set of replacement leads for my favorite colors, so it's like a year's worth of pencils for $12, whereas I went through my favorite colors of the Prismacolor Kohl Erase in like a month. So I tried to keep my sketch pretty simple here. I just want to have enough detail that I know what I'm going to be painting and where, but especially since I'm going to be using gouache, most of my sketch is going to be covered anyway. So honestly, I did make it a little bit more detailed than it needed to be, but that's okay. Um, and I drew an ear that later on I will completely paint over, but that's okay. So I am using some of the Princeton student grade brushes, some Holbein artist gouache, and some Hemi gouache brushes. And I am using this flower shaped palette that already has a lot of gouache on it, but I am going to use some fresh gouache as well. And these are the first two portraits I painted here, and then this is the addition. My plan is to do like 5 of these little portraits per page. They're really small, they're like 2 inches by 2 inches, and I feel like it's just so fun. And even though they're small, I can spend a lot of time on these. It is so fun to just really study a portrait and take in all of the different intricate little details that make someone's face unique and kind of solve the problem of how you're going to capture that. It is just kind of the most fun thing. And gouache is so different from watercolor, which is usually my primary medium. It's so forgiving. So watercolor can be frustrating because you have to really plan ahead. And with gouache, you don't have to plan ahead. And the thing that initially frustrated me about gouache was that layers beneath would reactivate whenever I painted over them, and it took a lot of just testing out gouache and experimenting with it to get used to it. But now I realize that's really a strength of gouache, because if you lay down a color and then you need to blend it out later on, you can absolutely do that and use it to your advantage. And then it's more forgiving in that you can cover up your mistakes or add highlights later. Like, I am just really falling in love with this medium. I tend to get a little bit wary when I have a bad experience with gouache, and I did, and I think that scared me away from the medium for quite some time. I had tried to paint a portrait, a larger portrait, and I was just doing it wrong. Honestly, I just kind of like plastered on so much thick gouache. It was too thick to really blend it. It was too thick to do anything over those initial layers. And that's when I learned about kind of working thin to thick when doing gouache. So kind of laying down your washes first, almost like in watercolor, and then building up and, kind of um, working with your thinner layers of paint first. I was just going in there like haphazardly initially, and it almost scared me away from the medium. Like, I didn't try traditional gouache again for like quite a few months, and I am really glad that I came back to it. I think if you have a bad experience with a medium, don't let it scare you, because sometimes it just takes some trial and error and making mistakes and learning what the strengths and weaknesses are of something, and you'll figure out that you really love it. Like this page that I'm working on with these little portraits, I love it. I'm having so much fun working on this, and you know, a few months ago, if you told me I would be enjoying gouache this much, I would say, no way. I think in a lot of ways, painting gouache portraits is almost like sculpting or carving. Like you kind of just start with your bigger, more general shapes and you just slowly kind of zero in on what you're looking for. And it is so relaxing and so fun. I'm just really excited about this medium and I can't wait to do more with it. this point, the portrait is almost done. I am just going back and adding the highlights and finer details. This is kind of one of the most fun parts. You want to add the highlights throughout the whole painting process, and at the end you finally get the satisfaction of like the highlights in the eyes and like on the nose and everything. I feel like that's one of the most fun parts. So anyway, she's pretty much almost done here. I just want to thank you so much for joining me today and painting this gouache portrait, and I hope to have another video out in 2 weeks. I hope you'll subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much for being here. Have a great day. Bye!